Hello everyone and welcome to another video on Dragoon optimization. Today I'm going to talk about doing a double chaotic spring combo in full uptime. So basically what I'm referring to is doing your chaotic spring combo of right and thrust, spiral blow, CS, etc. Doing it twice instead of alternating to heaven's thrust like you would usually do. So this is very kill time dependent, and you could consider it as like spreadsheet optimization. This is not some technique like double MD where you're gonna go into a fight blind and you're always gonna do this until there's some reason why you wouldn't do it. You go into a fight and you don't do this until you find out that there's a reason to do this. Basically, so there's gonna be a couple reasons why you'd want to do this for potency gain. But before I talk about how you can gain potency by doing this, I want to talk about how you can lose potency by doing this, and how you can lose less potency potentially by doing this. So I have this cool picture. So these are basically the two ways that you're expecting to end a fight normally regarding your GCDs. You have number one, where you do a CS combo into an HT combo, and then you have the other end where instead of alternating like usual, you would normally do a CS combo here, because you're doing a CS combo before this, and then you're doing an HT combo. And then instead of doing another CS combo, because you're not reaching this right in thrust, which is the point where a CS combo would generally be worth it again, instead of doing a CS combo here, you're doing an HT combo to get more damage out of it. This could result in you having an unbuffed Drake's Bane outside of Power Surge here. But generally speaking, that's still optimal until you get to the right in thrust. So what happens when you do two chaotic spring combos in a row instead of doing CS into HT as always? So when you do one double CS, you are basically swapping the alignment of your two combos. Every time you would normally do an HT, you're now going to do a CS. It also swaps the alignment on your kill time. So if you would normally finish a fight, like this bottom one here, like number 2, where this would have been a CS, but instead you do double HT, where your dot is essentially running out at the very end, and you're getting like very good dot value. You're now going to have this top window at the bottom. So this would become a CS, and then you just alternate to your HT. So then the boss is going to die around here or something, and you are losing like 12 seconds or 5 seconds or 6 seconds or something of your dot duration. You are killing when your dot is still applied to the boss. In the top example, if you did double CS and you would normally finish like this, which is what we just talked about happening here, you're now swapping to the good alignment where your CS is going to be here. You're basically getting this window. You're going to CS before, and then you're going to HT, and then you're going to HT again because it's not worth to do another CS. So normally in your rotation, when this happens, you're basically wasting, like as I said, somewhere between like, I don't know, like 5 to 17 seconds of your CS duration. Preferably, like best case scenario for a double CS would be you're killing on like this HT, so you're losing like 12 seconds of your dot, right? Now what happens when you're doing double CS? You're overriding your CS early to apply it again. You apply your CS again after 12.5 seconds instead of 25 seconds. But because of doing a double CS, at the end of the fight here, you're not losing 12 seconds on your dot anymore, you're losing around 0 seconds if you're killing here, which can be a bit more or a bit less depending on the exact kill time. But basically this is going to be how you both lose potency, because the bottom scenario here, because you're normally doing a double HT combo, but you're now both doing a double CS combo and you're not getting the extra HT. You're just basically swapping the double HT for a CS, but the CS is getting all full value, right? Because you're using it at this timing and you're overriding it. So you're gonna be swapping a spiral blow for a lance barrage, which is -40, and then you're swapping an HT, which is 440, for a CS, which is gonna be somewhere around 400, depending on how many ticks it's getting, depending on the exact kill time. But this is quite bad. In this case, however, you're doing the exact same amount of GCDs, you're doing the exact same amount of CS and HT, and then depending on kill time, it's possible that you're losing nothing. You're just doing the exact same thing. Okay, so now that we know how you're possibly losing potency, and how it is also possible that doing double CS results in losing no potency at all, we can talk about how you can gain potency. So why are we doing this, right? So the reason we're doing this is because swapping our two combos, we make it so we can have different alignment with our buff windows. Buff windows are the core behind this, basically. So number one of how we can gain potency is better GCDs in our buffs, dash rate buffs. So Dragoon ourselves, besides Power Surge, we have Lance Charge and Gear Skogul, which are 60-second buffs, and they last 20 seconds. Lance Charge is 10%, and Gear Skogul, or Life of the Dragon, is 15%. And then we have a 2-minute buff with 20-second duration again, which is Balladini, which increases our crit rate by 10%. But in terms of how much this is actually like a damage increase to non-auto crit stuff, it's like 5.2% with Cure and Gear. So we have all these different buffs that are 20 seconds in duration. Because they have a 20-second duration, and our GCD loop of doing a full CS combo and a full HT combo takes 25 seconds to do all the 10 GCDs, there's always going to be 2 GCDs that get excluded from a window. Now, we don't want that to be CS. We want that to be preferably an HT instead of a CS, and a Spiral Blow instead of a Lance Barrage. So why do we want CS to be buffed instead of Heaven's Thrust? So it's because CS is a stronger GCD than HT. CS has a base potency of 340 compared to the 440 on HT, but it applies a dot for 24 seconds with 45 potency. Dots tick every 3 seconds, which means that you get 8 ticks of 45 potency, which is 360. So CS at its total value has 700 potency. So it's possible by doing a double CS that we're lining it up so we get, instead of, let me write this, you go from 440 potency to 700 potency in buffs. And for Spiral Blow and Lance Barrage, you want the opposite. You want to go from 300 potency to 340 potency. Right, so as an example, this is a standard like rotation basically, but with double Mirage Dive. It's basically my double MD video is what this log is. So let's look at the 5-minute window in this one, because it's a window where you would benefit from doing double CS. So what changes when you do double CS? Normally you press Lance Charge after your Spiral Blow, and you have CS in Lance Charge, and then afterwards you go into Life of the Dragon, and you have a fully buffed Lance Barrage and HT, and that's it. If you did double CS before this window at some point, you would have a unbuffed Lance Barrage instead of Spiral Blow, and then you have a buffed by only your Lance Charge instead of CS is HT, and then in all of your buffs is Spiral Blow and CS. So how much potency are we losing or gaining here? How do you figure that out? So you grab a calculator or something along the likes, and you figure it out. So what is happening on this first GCD is that we are buffed by 10% on either a CS or a HT. So normally we are buffed by on our CS. So CS has 700 potency, and then you add Power Surge. You should always add Power Surge because it's just better. You want precise numbers. Sometimes it's going to be relevant, so it's better to be used to always using it. And then we want 10% of this number, right? Because that's how much we gained from having it in our Lance Charge. So 77 potency is what we gained. If this was going to become a Heaven's Thrust instead, then you would have 440 times 1.1 for Power Surge, and then 10% of this. So by swapping the two of them around, we are going from 77 potency to 48.4 potency, which means that we are losing 28.6 potency by swapping our alignment at this point. But that's only the first result. So far we've lost 28.6 potency in our 5-minute. Let me write down 5-minute. So then we go to the next effect of swapping them. So instead of having Lance Barrage in our buffs now, we're gonna have Spiral Blow, which is 40 potency less. So you can look at the total potency, right? So currently you have Lance Barrage, which is 340, and then you add Power Surge, and then you keep this number, and then you add the other multipliers, 1.1 and 1.15, and then you take away the initial number, and then you have this, and then you do the same for Spiral Blow to see how much that gets affected by the buffs. You'd save this number, and then if I could type, okay, cool, 1.15, and then you take it away. So you're basically gaining like 12 potency, or you're losing like 12 potency, I mean, because you're swapping to the worst one. Now, a better way to figure this out is to just take the difference initially. When you're more used to it, you can just take 40 or 44 because you have to add Power Surge. So you have 44, which is the difference in potency that these two at base do. And then you do that times 1.1 times 1.15. I don't remember how to do this actually, never mind, I'm not going to explain this. I thought there was like a shortcut, but I don't remember it. I guess take 10% of that. Anyway. So you do this number minus this number, and then this is the loss. So you've now lost, after 2 changes, you've lost 40 potency, right? But now we get to the point where we actually gain something. This is why we wanted to do double CS, because we swap a fully buffed HT for a fully buffed CS. So you go from HT, which is 484 with Power Surge, and then you add the other multipliers, and you're gaining this much from your buff, 128. Whereas having a CS here would be 770 with Power Surge, and then you add the other ones, and then minus this, you're gaining 204. So then you take away the HT. You're basically, your value is going up by 75 potency. And then you can once again look at what you lost earlier. So in total, you're gaining 35.5 potency from having done a double CS before this window, from having your alignment swapped around. So this is how better GCDs increase your potency in your rotation, because you're getting better value from your buffs, right? Now, kind of a part of this, better GCD still, but not as intuitive, so I'm going to separate it, is double CS buff windows. So in this current 5-minute window, we want to do double CS, right? We want to do double CS before this window to gain potency. So the question is, where do we do double CS? When do we do it? There are 2 points without, so if we do it in the, after our 4-minute window, like here, we double CS after this double CS. We're overriding a fully buffed CS, we don't want to do that, right? Instead, we can do it either after 440, or we can do it after 5 minutes and 5 seconds. The only difference is whether we overwrite a CS that is unbuffed or buffed. Naturally, you would be inclined, at least I was when I was first doing this, to think that the unbuffed is better, right? You don't want to waste time on a buffed CS instead of an unbuffed one. But that's wrong. You actually would prefer to do the buffed CS. Why is this? Basically, the only difference that you're making is whether this Heaven's Thrust is going to be here or here. Like, is this GCD going to be a 440 potency Heaven's Thrust, or is this going to be a half duration CS, which is only going to get 4 ticks most likely, right? Because that's what happens here. If you're doing double CS here, you're going to reapply it in the same window, which means this one is only going to apply for 12.5 seconds, which means you're guaranteed 4 ticks. So, you know, your base potency is 340, and then you add 4 ticks, which is 180. Which which means that doing a CS here, when you're doing double CS afterwards, is going to have a potency of 520 potency. Which means that the only difference is that you're putting a 520 potency GCD here instead of the HT, which would be 440, which means you're doing 60 potency more in your lance charge. So because the half duration CS is still better buff value than the HT, is why you want to do it here. So yeah, generally speaking, like you only want to do double CS once, but you want it to be in your buff window if possible, because it's actually a better buff window, even more so if there's raid buffs. In this case, you're only doing it for a 60-second window, so there's no raid buffs here. But if you can get it to be double CS within raid buffs, it's even better. Now I mentioned it shortly just now, but why do you not want to do multiple double CS? Like, you're doing one double CS in a fight, generally speaking. The reason is because of what I explained at the start. By doing one double CS, you're basically abusing, or you're benefiting from the fact that you would normally be wasting CS value at the end. You're trying to make it so you line up the better out of these two finishing options. If you would normally finish on one, you're already wasting CS anyway. If you're finishing on two, you're not wasting CS. So if you're already wasting CS anyway, doing double CS is not a difference. It barely is a potency loss. Which means that very quickly, even with gaining low amounts of potency, it can end up being a gain. Whereas if you do two double CS in a fight, it means you go back to your original alignment anyways. So the ticks you lost, or like the value of your CS you lost, is basically just gone. There's not going to be a kill time where it's better or anything. It's always going to be worse. So you're going to have to gain significantly more potency to make up for how much value you're losing in your GCDs. And it's pretty unrealistic that that ever happens within one uptime, right? So then, that is that. Moving on to the third point, which is life surge alignment. That's not how you spell. Your life surge alignment can improve because, once again, you're swapping your two combos, right? So I'm going to look at our 6-minute window for this one. In your 6-minute window, normally, you're forced to use life surge on a Drake's Bane that is not buffed by lance charge. So what happens is you start off, you use your buffs before HT, and then very close is your Drake's Bane, of course. Now, both of these are 440 potency GCDs that are fully buffed by everything. But due to drifting your life surge earlier in your rotation for a better usage back then, you're not able to use life surge before this Drake's Bane and also on this HT. Because it comes up too late, right? You would use it on this HT and then it comes up after Drake's Bane. So what happens if you've done a double CS is that this is now CS, still fully buffed, but this becomes an HT. So instead of having to use life surge on this Drake's Bane here, you're now using life surge on this HT that would be here, which means you're just gaining the value. You're gaining the 10% lance charge on your life surge. Your life surge becomes better. It's a gain of like 21 potency in how much better your life surge becomes. So that's the first part of this, and then I'm specifically showing a double Mirage Dive log right now. The reason is because in this specific window here, it also improves the damage you're gaining from double MD. Normally you're forced to use high jump alongside your life surge, but you want to do high jump Mirage Dive. With this buff alignment, you're always going to do high jump Mirage Dive double waves at the end of your window, and then the Mirage Dive is going to catch the first buff you used in that wave slot. But because the potency gain from this life surge is bigger than the potency gain of using Mirage Dive in lance charge, you prioritize the life surge. But if you're moving the life surge away from here, you can also put the Mirage Dive back in your lance charge, which means that you also get the 26 potency. Why is it 26 potency? So you're doing 200 potency, your Mirage Dive, and you add Power Surge, you add Life of the Dragon, because it's still in Life of the Dragon, and you add Battle Litany, which, as I said before, is around a 5.2% buff, and then you add 10% to that, which is 26.6 potency. So you're gaining 21 potency from your life surge alignment, and then you're gaining, because the life surge is gone now, you're gaining 26 potency from double MD. Another window I want to show, a slightly different idea, is your 4-minute window. This is also going to improve your life surge alignment, but only if you're not able to triple weave. So the best way to use your life surge in your 4-minute window normally with this alignment would be to triple weave Paladin, Gear Skogul on life surge before Drake's Bane, and then you use your next life surge on the next Drake's Bane. Because you're already taking both the 2 weave slots before this Drake's Bane, and you're going into a CS combo, and you cannot drift your life surge all the way to hitting this, to hitting something else. You're basically forced to use life surge on your Chaotic Spring, which is slightly better than an unbuffed HT. When you're double weaving, when you're not triple weaving. However, if you did a double CS at some point, you're swapping the CS for an HT, which means that the life surge that's on here now is getting full value, which makes it better by like 56 potency, 54 potency. You gain like 54 potency of value on your life surge from having it hit a fully buffed Heaven's Thrust instead of a CS. However, this window clearly still becomes worse. When you do double HT, you're moving your CS out of it for the HT, and then you're getting slightly better value on your Lance Barrage. But outside of it becoming worse, you're getting better life surge alignment, which can still matter, and it will, as I'll show in a moment. Okay, so number 4. This is gonna get a bit more complicated and a bit more tricky, silly game coding moment. Basically, it is possible when you're doing double CS for you to gain dot ticks that you wouldn't maybe expect to get. So before, when I was talking about double CS buff windows, I mentioned how your overwritten CS has a value of 520 potency because it's getting 4 ticks, right? Now, your CS that's being overwritten, it gets changed, like you apply your next CS 12.5 seconds later, right? Because 5 GCDs takes 2.5 seconds times 5, 12.5 seconds. So your dot is up for 12.5 seconds, which means that within the first 12 seconds, you're guaranteeing 4 ticks, but then you have a leftover 0.5 seconds. In that 0.5 seconds, because it's 1/6 of a tick of 3 seconds, there's a 1 in 6 chance that you're getting a tick there. So if a dot tick happens within the first 0.5 seconds of your initial dot that's being overwritten, you're gaining a tick. You're getting a 5 tick CS instead of 4 ticks. Which can also, like in this case, if it's the 5-minute window here, it further adds to the potency you're getting from your buff window, because once again you're replacing the 440 potency HT for a 520 potency 4 tick CS here initially, but that could become a 565 potency 5 tick CS. I need water. Okay. So that's how you gain the first tick. There's also another way in which you can gain a tick, which is that at the end of the fight, if you are applying your CS sooner than the standard rotation would by doing double CS, your CS got moved forward 12.5 seconds now, right? Which means that because your CS got applied 12.5 seconds sooner, it can get a tick this is really hard to explain, but it can get a tick 0.5 seconds sooner. Like at the point that your double CS dot would have been applied for 18.5 seconds, the standard rotation dot would have then, technically speaking, been applied for 6.5 seconds, or 6 seconds I mean, not 0.5. Which means that because you're comparing 18.5 and 6 seconds, the standard rotation dot would have guaranteed gotten 2 ticks, but no more, just 6 seconds equals 2 ticks. Double CS would have gotten 18.5, which is guaranteed 5 ticks, but 0.5. So there's a possibility for a 6th tick. However, this and everything that I've said before now, I forgot to mention this before, but everything that I'm mentioning basically can go negatively too. I showed it before with the 4-minute window if you're doing the... if you're gaining the life surge value because you're double waving. How you're moving a CS outside of your buffs. And you're actually losing a lot of potency in this window. So everything that can be a potency gain can also be a potency loss. This completely has to do with your buff alignment. It just happens to be that it works out really well in most of your 6-minute rotation. But yeah, so at the end, if you are applying your CS later now than the standard rotation would, like the standard rotation is doing CS double HT for example, and you're doing CS HT, then they might gain a dot tick sooner than you, or in different words, you might be losing another dot tick. Now, how you can make this beneficial to yourself, especially the first one that I mentioned, the one where you're reapplying your CS and you're getting the tick there, is that you can actually track your dot ticks. So there's multiple ways to do this, which is, for example, you can have something similar to the auto tracker, where you have a visual timer of when your dot tick is about to occur. But I wouldn't recommend that for this because it doesn't really work too well. Instead, I would recommend that you open your FFXIV uploader, and then you go to live log and you enable real-time uploading. If you start a log with this option enabled, it's gonna upload the fight while you're still doing it. Basically, like as soon as it gets the information, it's gonna upload it into a log, and you can already see the information in the log while you're doing the fight. So if you start a log like that, I can't really show it properly because it requires, like, for it to work, it requires you to actually be in like an instance with people, not just like unsync into something solo. Okay, water break. So you start the log and then you open the log, and then you want to make sure that when you're in the log, you click here on like last pull. This will make your URL into this where it says last at the end, instead of if you click on some random pool it goes with the number. So you click here and then you go to a page that's like giving you the information that you need. So you click on yourself, you go to casts, events, and then chaotic spring. Where's chaotic spring? There. So if your URL is proper, it's like last, and you're live login, you can basically start a pull, and then after having done CS, you can refresh this page, and it's gonna be your current pull. And it's gonna tell you two things. It's gonna tell you the timing of your GCD, and it's gonna tell you the timing of the dot tick. So why does the timing of your GCD matter is because you're looking for these 0.5 second windows where a dot is ticking, right? So if you want to get a 5 tick CS here on your 5 minutes double CS, you're applying your dot at 5.5 seconds, which means you want the dot tick, like you're applying your dot at 5.5. You want the dot tick to happen between 5.5 and 6.0 seconds. If a dot tick happens in this timing, it means you're going to get 5 ticks in this CS. By knowing this information, you can change your rotation to gain more potency from potential 5 tick CSs. For example, if you know it's not going to be this window, it's potentially better for you to, even though we said it's worse before because you're just making your buff value better by doing your double CS in your buff window, it's potentially better for you to double CS outside of your buff here, which we initially said, because it's going to be 5 ticks. Because even though you're losing the gain of 60 potency in your buff, which is a gain of 8.8 potency, by doing it here, you're gaining a full tick, right? You're gaining a full tick in power surge, which is 49.5 potency. So the timing for this one specifically would be, you're applying at 40.5. So 4 minutes, 40.5. you want the tick to be, well, relative to 4 minutes then, between 40.5 seconds and 41 seconds. How you can like compare these ticks then would be that instead of writing them like this, you can either just write them all relative to the first tick of the fight. So for the 4 minute one, that would be a tick between 1.5 seconds and 2.0 seconds. And then for the other one, it would be 2.5 seconds to 3.0 seconds. You can consider it like this, or preferably when you're actually doing this in a fight, you would consider it as, because you're looking at the timing of your CS, right? Like when you're refreshing this, you're looking at your CS and the first tick after you apply your CS. Because your CS is being applied at 5.5, you want to basically consider, because this is the first tick you're going to see, you don't want to think more during the pull when you're already doing this. So the first tick after 5.5, you want to relate the number you're looking for to that one. So this one is really easy because it's this. A tick between 2.5 seconds and 3 seconds would also be a tick between 5.5 and 6 seconds. It's the same. You just add 3 seconds to it. For this one, however, if you add 3 seconds to it, you have 4.5 to 5 seconds. But you wouldn't see that tick yet because you don't have CS applied yet. So instead of doing this one, you would do 7.5 seconds to 8 seconds. So let me move this one up and then get rid of this. So if you get if your first tick that you see when you refresh this page in your pool happens between 7.5 and 8.0 seconds, you would do a double CS at 4 minutes and 40 seconds before your buff window. Where is it? On this one. And then if your first tick that you see is between 5.5 and 6.0 seconds, you would do it in your buff window set on this one. If it's neither of these, if your first dot tick is not in any of these windows but somewhere outside of them, you're just gonna do the second one because it's in your lance chart. It's the better one on paper. Like as we said before, you want to do double CS buff windows if possible. So that's how you can gain dot ticks. Oh, I should also say the reason why your GCD timing matters, the reason why you want to see when you press your GCD is because if you're using your GCD pre-pull, if you like pull properly, you're probably going to be pressing your GCD like 0.2 seconds early. So if this CS happens at 4.8 instead of 5 seconds, you have to reduce both these numbers by, like these ranges, by 0.2 seconds, right? So you have to know when your GCD happened to know how much time you have to add or remove from the range you're looking for. And then you're able to properly determine when you should double CS. So that's how you can gain a tick. You can also gain a tick at the end of the fight, as I said, but you can't really track that. Well, you shouldn't really track that. You're never playing around that tick. It just happens or it doesn't. It's kill time dependent. So we've basically been over every way that you can gain potency now. So I could spoon feed you and show you every single buff window now and how much potency you're gaining or losing. I'm just gonna quickly go over some results now because otherwise this video is gonna be too long and I'm gonna die. My throat is gonna die. So you basically, realistically, in a 6-minute 30 fight, for example, this stays relevant at more kill times than that, but I want to talk about 6:30 for now. You have 3 options generally. You either want to double CS in your opener, or at 4 minute 40, or at 4 minute, or at 5 minutes. The 2 options I mentioned before, but also your opener. Why would you want to do your opener? So your opener has the same tick alignment as your 5 minute double CS. If you would get 5 ticks in this range for 5 minutes, that is the same timing as this CS. So they're the same in that sense. I need water. But by doing double CS in your opener, you are improving your windows up to 4 minutes by enough to gain 11 potency. However, the problem is, and why you don't want to do this, generally speaking, is because the majority, I have like all the potency gains and losses here. The majority of the potency gain is outside of 2-minute windows. If you are triple waving, you are reducing the potency you deal in rate buffs in your 2-minute windows by 26 potency, but you're gaining 11 potency over doing the 5-minute double CS. If you are double weaving, you are both increasing your raid buff contribution by like 20 something because you're putting the life surge in there, right? Or well, you're getting more life surge value in the raid buffs. So if you're double weaving, it's very good just always to do your opener. If you're triple weaving, then you shouldn't do your opener because most likely you're gonna grief raid buffs by doing it. Although depending on exact like rotation you're doing, exact buff timing, it's pretty likely that at 4 minutes, if you're taking this into account for speed kills, right? It's pretty likely that this Drake's Bane is not going to be in every raid buff, so it might still be smart for you to do double HC. The value might still be good enough to where moving your life surge from here to here, because it gets more raid buffs, might still be better. It's something to consider. But yeah, so those are the times you would do. And I want to show some actual potency values of how much you're gaining or losing as an example. So this is how you can basically compare them. Might look silly. This is just how I find it easy to show. This is a full timeline for 625 of doing double CS opener versus not doing double CS opener. So, as I've said, the only difference you're making by doing double CS is your Lance Barrages, Spiral Blow, CS, HT. None of your other OGCDs or GCDs are being affected. There's going to be some changes to life surge and stuff, but I would note that separately. If you're going to sheet this in a way that's easy to understand for yourself, I would recommend just doing it manually like this, because it will give you a lot more insight on what's actually happening and how you're actually gaining or losing potency. So I have the unbuffed numbers and the buff numbers. So you can see that, for example, at a 625 exactly kill time, you are going from 27k 480 unbuffed potency to 385. So you're losing 95 potency before buffs, before alignment or anything. But then you are going from 277, well 33k 277 to 33k 301 buffed potency. So after the improvements in your buff alignment, you are gaining like 25 potency, like 24 potency. If you also gain potency from the double weave, improving your life surge alignment, then you're getting another 54 potency on top of that. However, the other gains that I mentioned with life surge and double MD and stuff are not relevant yet because you're killing at 625 and those happen at 627. If you go to the next one, at 630, you go from a buffed value of 33,270 to a buffed value of 33,430. This is like insanely good kill time. You're not losing any unbuffed value on paper, really. Could even be gaining unbuffed potency if you're getting lucky with ticks or if you're tracking ticks. But then on top of already gaining 160 potency buffed, you're also getting your 6-minute life surge to be better, so that's another 21 potency. Potentially, if you're doing double MD, that also gets improved, so that's another 26 potency. And once again, if you're double weaving, you're getting 54 potency from the life surge in that window. So in this window, at this point, this kill time, if you're double weaving and all these other things are also relevant for you, it's possible that you're gaining like 260 potency. No, that's, yeah, like 260 potency. And then 635, you're still gaining potency. You go up like 95 potency before this other stuff. Can gain well over 100 potency still. And then 640 by doing double CS. At this point, double CS is doing a double HT combo at the end. But they reach their Drake's Bane, which is not in right and thrust, so they lose 44 potency for that. relative to the other rotation. But even then, assuming you're doing like a double weave, like you're doing double mirage dive but you're triple weaving, you're still gaining. You're going from 361 instead of 326, so you're still gaining like over 30 potency. But that's generally the threshold. Like for 6-minute rotation, it's around 625 to 640 where you're gaining potency. And then you're still gaining potency like between certain thresholds, between 7 minutes and 8 minutes. The gain is so big that there's gonna still be points where you're gaining potency at like past 8 minutes. But at 8 minutes, it doesn't align as nicely. Like if you're doing sandbag kills for 8 minutes, the time at which you kill is never gonna be good for double CS, or the time that you want to kill at. But yeah, I don't want to spoon feed every single like solution. I just wanted to explain why you would do this. And I believe I've basically explained everything. The reasons, as I said, are better GCDs in your buffs, potential double CS buff windows, improving your life surge, and by that, maybe your double mirage dive alignment, and maybe gain in dot ticks. So yeah, I hope this was informative. I'll try to make more videos soon. This one was hard. I had to prepare a lot of stuff. It's a confusing topic, and it's confusing to find a way to explain this in like a not awful way, which it might have still been, but who knows. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video.